Are you ready to start to learn to read and play music in just 15 minutes? Here's Duncan Lorien to tell you about his upcoming seminar.
Hello. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm Duncan Lorien, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Understanding of Reading and Playing Music seminar. Now, I created this seminar because of the third question. What is the third question? Well, the best way to start is to say, what's the first question? The first question is always, are you a musician? The second question is always, what do you play? Keyboard, guitar, another instrument? And what about that third question? Can you read? It's always the third question. If you've always thought of being able to read music as a dream, I'm here to tell you that it actually can be a reality. I've taken 38,000 people through this seminar. I've got 38,000 graduates in all of these countries around the world. I have taught thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people. Now, as they always say, some of the people can be wrong some of the time, but all of the people can't be wrong all of the time. There's been press and TV on me in the past, some of which you might have seen, some of it you might not. I've given TED lectures in universities around the world. Now, if you've always thought music is an impossible subject to learn, you're not far off. There are so many people that get frustrated with it, especially with the traditional approach. Even if you are lucky enough to find a person who's into teaching guitar or keyboard in a modern way, they still use the same codes. Code after code after code. And yes, that's an actual piece of music. It's extreme, but you can see what we're up against here. And even if you go to a professional music college to learn, you can pay literally tens of thousands of dollars. There's a very small percentage that actually end up graduating and making money at this thing that they love doing most, which is playing music. Why is this? Code. Code, 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 code. The whole subject's written in code. Now, when was this code added to the subject? And who was responsible for adding it? And most importantly, why? Why would you add code to a subject that should be so simple everyone could play it? Well, from about 800 onwards, the concept was that the only people that should be using the subject of music were the church. It was supposedly sent from God to his saints on earth. And there were rules written down about how music should be created. That meant it was not for the likes of you and me, it was only for the chosen few. So, to learn the subject, years, right? Nah, one weekend. This subject can be thought of as a labyrinth, and finally, there is a way to negotiate the labyrinth. I know, I've taken 38,000 people through it. So, are you ready to give me 15 minutes to see if I can actually do what I say I can do? Come on, let's give it a shot. Let's start with this guy. Very successful songwriter right now. I love what he has to say. When people say artists are born with natural talent, you're not. You have to really learn and really practice. But thank you, Ed. What is the question? What do you have to really learn and really practice? Now, this is the sort of thing they try and teach you traditionally. Middle C. Yeah, any of you bumped into that before? Wonder why it's called middle C? Especially since it's not in the middle. Goes back to a time when the lowest note a monk was allowed to sing was that one. And the highest note a boy was allowed to sing was that one. And yeah, at that time, that just happened to be in the middle. Of course, that time was in the year 800, and we're 1200 years later, but they're still teaching it as the first standard reference when they teach you an instrument. Unbelievable. So, if you really want to learn your notes on an instrument, here's the easiest way you're ever going to come across. Watch. Lines up through the middle of every black key in the groups of three. See? Group of 3 black, 2 black, 3 black, 2 black. Put a line up through the middle of each of those. And now you've compartmentalized the keyboard. Now, why are we doing that? I want you to focus on this. What's in the middle of those 2 black keys? Forget the middle C business. How about this one? D. D for Duncan. I knew there was a reason my parents gave me this name. And it doesn't matter which group of 2 black keys. The middle note is always going to be D for Duncan. All right. So now you know how to find D for Duncan on any keyboard. What would be the next action? Well, the next action is to find an A. Easy one. 3 white keys to the left of any D is always an A. 3 white keys of any D is always a G. That is standard. Always. It doesn't matter where you find the D, the A will be 3 to the left, the G will be 3 to the right. Now, if you know where D and A and G are, well, guess what? Right. What's to the left of D? C. What's to the right of D? E. We're almost there. Now, if you know where A is, you got it. There's your B. And if you know where G is, what comes before G in the alphabet? F. Now, here's what I want you to understand. At the time that the monks were creating their music, they were making their music from what we would think of as the white keys of the keyboard today. That doesn't mean that the black keys weren't there. They just weren't using them. And because they weren't using them, they created this code. And this code was, we give letter names to the white notes, but we don't give letter names to the black notes. Lovely. Someone came up with all these codes and rules years ago. So how did they deal with it when eventually they started to make use of the black keys? Well, this is where it really gets crazy. If you go to the left of any white key, one to the left, that note is called a flat. For example, where the green arrow is, that would be a D flat. But of course, as you've already probably spotted, you could approach that same location from the note of C, and you could go one to the right from a C, in which case that would be called a C sharp. Now, you're probably sitting there going, well, when do I call it a flat? When do you call it a sharp? Come on, I've got to save something for the seminar. Let's do it again. One to the left of an E? Yeah, it would be an E flat. But you could approach it from the D, so it could also be a D sharp. Can you believe these guys were actually sitting there creating this complexity? You actually now know your notes on a keyboard. Can't be that easy, surely. What about other instruments? Well, what about a guitar? Well, how long does it take to learn your notes on a guitar? In the seminar? Yeah, give me 10 minutes. Literally, 10. So simple? Right, anyone could do it. I'm not kidding. It's just code. Come on, let's start to break down this code. Finally. Now, what you're looking at is an arch. An arch is held up because it's got a keystone. The keystone fixes all the other stones in place. Now you're about to learn the code breaker. Here's your code breaker. Yeah, you recognize that symbol. Why is that my company symbol? Well, you're about to find out. Look, let's take a ladder. If we think of the floor as representing the letter A, then all the other locations stem from that. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and so on and so forth. So if we think of that as an A, right, as we go up and we count the rungs of the ladder and the spaces of the rungs between the ladder, and this is really what written music is. Of course, they don't tell you this because it makes it too simple. Now, let's just look at the rungs. So now we've got every second letter, okay? But they don't just take this whole range. They take a little section of it. And that's where people start to get confused because, why is there this section? Well, do you remember what we just learnt about an arch in the keystone? There it is. There's your keystone. Now, what does the keystone do? It fixes other things in place. And if you fix one in place, what does that do? It automatically fixes everything in place. So, let's take a look and see how this helps us read music. What's that? Well, it's the letter G. Well, let me show you what the monks did to this over a period of centuries. Yes, these are all letter Gs. Terrible handwriters, weren't they? And you are going to get up to something you might recognize. Yep, it's just the letter of the alphabet, G. Now, you're thinking to yourself, why G? Yeah, why G? Well, why not? They could have picked any letter they like. But what do you know? Well, once you fix one in place, what does that do? Yep, it fixes them all in place. Start to see the logic here? Once you start to break the code, it all seems to start falling into place. And you go, well, why doesn't somebody just tell me that? Yeah, there's no money in making things simple, is it? And what about those sharps and flat things? Watch. If we knew that was a D because it's been set into place by our keystone, if we put a symbol before it, what does that symbol do? Do you remember? Right. One to the left, called a flat. So that note would now be called a D flat. What about if I put that symbol in front of it? Well, remember the rule? Right, one to the right, a D sharp. Starting to understand the code? Guys, 15 minutes. Hey, if we can do that in 15, what can we do in one weekend? Now, of course, just learning to read music, that would be way too easy for a whole weekend. What else are we going to learn? Yep, you're going to learn all your note names on every instrument. Every instrument? Keyboard, guitar, and ukulele, mandolin, cello, violin, trumpet, clarinet, saxophone. No. Oh, yes. And I'm going to give you easy exercises to start controlling your fingers. You're going to become the boss of your fingers. You're going to be able to read music for the right hand. That's what that sign means. For the left hand. That's what that sign means. No matter how high or how low, every note's going to be as simple as the next. Pieces of music you've always wanted to learn. On both keyboard and guitar. You will be able to read any piece of music you've ever wanted to read. Traditional standards, and you can even learn how to read the system for guitar called tablature. They're both taught in the seminar. Be able to read music from Broadway, famous musicals, pop songs, anything you've ever wanted to learn how to read. And what about that mysterious subject called rhythm? Well, I hope you like pizza, because that's the way I teach it. Simple, simple, simple concepts. You're going to be able to learn to read and count rhythm accurately. So you see something like this in front of you, you will know exactly what you're supposed to do when you see each symbol. The code is finally going to be broken. And if you've struggled with this kind of stuff over the years, finally, a way to actually learn it. I'm even going to turn you into drummers. You're going to learn drum patterns. I think those monks are starting to get a little worried about this time. You're going to get materials that you're going to interact with and take home with you and fully understand. Then I'm going to give you 3.5 to 4 months worth of daily practice. I'm literally going to tell you what to do for every second of your daily 10 minutes. That's right, just 10 minutes a day. Doesn't sound too bad, does it? I'm actually going to be there with you all the way. You're going to be able to do this anywhere. You know, take your guitar with you on holiday. Look at it on your phone, on your tablet. Teach your kids. Yeah, save them going through the frustration. Finally, the Understanding of Reading and Playing Music seminar is coming to your house. Your computer, your tablet, even your phone. One weekend. This weekend. Now, I don't do a lot of these Understanding of Reading and Playing Music seminars because I'm doing them around the world in many different languages. So once each year, I do this in English. This is the date, this year. Come on, come and join us. It's time to turn your dreams into a reality. For more information, contact Mark on 04 50 510 822 or email him at info@musicseminar.com.au. I hope to see you very soon. Until then, bye.
Thank you for your time, and we hope to see you at a future Understanding of Music Company seminar.